It is Monday, February the 5th, 8:32 a.m. My name is Frank Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. First and foremost, thank you for tuning in. It has been a while since I have been on. This is a special story that we have been working on, and we thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time, we do ask that you like and share the page. We are streaming this broadcast over three different platforms on social media on X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. If you wish anonymity, please watch us on YouTube under Frankie Olivo. Uh, we have been working on a story regarding the city of Brownsville. This is on a multi-million dollar contract that was awarded to a certain vendor. We here at Good Morning Brownsville do our very best to try and bring to light irregularities that we see through um, through the different decisions that are made by our elected officials. Uh, it is unfortunate that here at the City of Brownsville, we do not have investigative journalism, and we are tasked with having to get our information from our local bloggers. It is imperative for us to keep each other informed because at the end of the day, we as a community are taxpayers and we want to have our municipal government to be run efficiently, for the decisions to be made, for them to be made with the best interest of the city for its operational purposes, but also free of any compadrismo, so to speak. The story that we have been working on involves a tax collecting service. Now, here locally, what we have seen has been that municipal entities do hire vendors to serve as third parties. In this particular case, the city of Brownsville, the municipal court went out for requests for proposals. Now, vendors, whenever they submit bids, they do so with the understanding that the services that they'll be providing is done in a way in which will be um, efficient, that they will work in the best interest for, in this particular case, the municipal court in collecting fees, taxes, um, etc. What we have seen here locally has been that there have been two firms at odds with one another here in Cameron County and also in the Hidalgo area. What we have been seeing as of late has been that um, the tide has been changing, so to speak. These two heavyweights in Linebaugher and Purdue have been duking it out for the past 10 years. Well, longer than that, but I have been following both of these firms for that amount of time. And what we have seen has been that Linebaugher, for the past 10 years, has been in control of the local markets, the local counties, Cameron, Hidalgo, and even Willacy. As of late, we have seen how Purdue has really worked it. And we have seen a red wave, so to speak, where it seems as if the tide has been going their way. Recently, they were awarded a multi-million dollar contract, 2 to 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, with the city of Brownsville for collecting the property taxes. Now, the interesting thing from this case is not the selection of a different vendor, but it is the way in which these vendors were selected, and this is where our story begins. Uh, Tomorrow, Tuesday, the city of Brownsville will be having a um, commission meeting, and our focal point for this story will be what is highlighted at the very bottom. In closed session, they will be considering a contract that was previously awarded to Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott for municipal court collections services for the city of Brownsville. What is interesting to learn from this case has been, again, the selection process. We want to give our audience a bit of history of how this transpired. The city of Brownsville went out for RFPs, requests for proposals, seeking bids from vendors in the services of collecting municipal court costs. A presentation was done in January of this year that pretty much gave the recommendation for a certain firm to be hired. In this case, Purdue. The recommendation was given for them to provide the services, training, for them to identify the vendors that they are the best choice for acquiring this municipal court collection. And again, we want to state there is, and for the record, we do not have any skin in the game. We do not have a dog in this fight, but we do follow closely our elected officials' decisions on awarding contracts to their compadres, because at the end of the day, we as taxpayers, we want for our elected officials to do what is right. In this particular case, what we have found is that there was some sort of manipulation, cheating, so to speak, in awarding a contract to these vendors. One thing that we have found was that in their presentation before, to the city commission, the committee ranked in order of their rankings. Rank number one in their presentation was Purdue. Rank number two was Linebaugher. Again, these two heavyweights that have been duking it out for years and years. And what we have seen from this has been something that caught our eye. Now, I hope you're following with me because it's going to get a lot juicier as we go. Now, the vetting process that the vendors were evaluated was based on this criteria. And if I could lay some context before you, whenever these vendors go out for RFPs, requests for proposals, all the information is given to everybody beforehand. Whenever a vendor submits a bid to a government entity, they are given a certain criteria that they will be evaluated. In this case, the city of Brownsville, beforehand, to all the parties involved that were wanting to submit a bid, were given an evaluation sheet, so to speak. They will be uh, evaluated based on the references, on their collection rate, on the approach to the project, how they plan to resolve certain problems, challenges that one may have, their history in regards to the collection process. Are they experienced? Do they come with years um, of doing this type of work? Is this somebody that's going to lead us into victory, so to speak? Or are we hiring people that don't know what they're doing, that they have a solid track record? And beforehand, this proposal, this criteria, was going to be evaluated based on 100-point combined score. Now, what is interesting to learn from this is that once the vetting process was completed, manipulation occurred, because it is said that after the rankings were done, Linebaugher was ranked number one on the published RFP criteria. However, look at the red box that I have there for you. However, on the second round, an extra 25 points that was not part of the original RFP was brought up. And this second round for the top vendors was based on what their extra fees was going to be, how they did on their presentation. Did these vendors provide clear answers to the questions? Do they have an efficient collection process? Now, again, whenever a vendor submits an RFP, a request for proposal, all the information from the city is given beforehand. So beforehand, you have an evaluation of 100-point possible score for each vendor to acquire. And during this process, we learned that Linebaugher was ranked number one, Purdue ranked number two. Our question and our story, and the reason why we're on today is we want to know who at the city added these extra points so that Purdue would come out on top. Now, was it someone in the purchasing department who made the quote unquote mistake? Who had procurement to come up with this additional score? Or more importantly, did Purdue have someone on the inside directing the purchasing department? And this is where our story leads us. As you and I know, elected officials uh, have made it their agendas to run for political office, not for doing what is the best interest of you and I, of providing a better quality of life, providing more opportunities for our future, for our youth. But on the contrary, it seems as if these politicos run for political office for personal gain. The focal point of our story today will be who made the directive to make sure that a certain vendor was awarded a multi-million dollar contract. Was this manipulation? Was cheating done? And you'll be surprised at the players involved in all of this. What was interesting to learn was that the at the hearing for the city of Brownsville, an elected official happened to be with that vendor. You're talking about a BISD board member who appeared at the city meeting, sitting in the same row, shoulder to shoulder, with this certain firm. And wouldn't you know, it's somebody that we have talked about previously, none other than board member Eddie Garcia. What was interesting to learn from this is that we asked the question, is Eddie Garcia working for Purdue? Is there some sort of agreement between them? I bring to light a comment that was made by board member Eddie Garcia, and here he is in the picture with the representatives for Purdue. And I bring to light a comment that was made, a statement that was made by board member Eddie Garcia back in the BISD board meeting in May 2023. You can confirm, go on YouTube if you'd like. Mr. Garcia, when Purdue got the BISD contract for property taxes, he asked the vendors about giving campaign contributions. Now, the question that I would like to ask is, did Eddie Garcia make a deal with Purdue? Because at the end of the day, he is currently running for tax assessor collector. Primaries are 3 to 4 weeks away, and he is in the Democratic primary for, or in the runnings for tax assessor collector. Why would a BISD board member be at a city meeting shoulder to shoulder with a vendor? Could it be that he is heavily vested in this certain vendor, that he wants to make sure to let the other politicians on the city commission know that, hey, I'm with them. Make sure you vote our way. We can conclude that we can say with certainty that board member Eddie Garcia does have a vested interest in making sure that these individuals get this contract. Uh, I would like to present to you his annual report for his campaign uh, finances for this position that he is currently running. What is interesting to learn is that this tax collecting firm is heavily vested in board member Eddie Garcia's quest to become a an elected official at the county side. Again, our question that we want answered is who made that directive for Purdue to come out on top on the rankings? And the reasons why that was done was because the commission is able to justify their vote in saying, the committee voted or ranked these vendors a certain way, so I will vote how the committee, whatever the committee recommends. Who made the directive for um, for Purdue to gain more points after the fact that the initial 100 points was given? We might also point another finger towards another city commission member. Did he have some sort of involvement in making sure that Purdue ranked number one on the evaluation? That way, it would be easier for them to to vote and give them the contract. What is interesting to learn from this is that there is also another possible suspect. Um, well, suspect sounds kind of bad, but then again, this is a multi-million dollar contract, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't peanuts. This isn't nickels and dimes. This could change the lives of many individuals. Another individual that we looked into was Commissioner Linda Macias. We were shocked to learn that Miss Macias is married into the family of an individual that works for Purdue. If we go back to the meeting back in January of 2023, she voted on this agenda item. Now, to the best of my knowledge, she has never openly stated uh, or never submitted any conflicts of interest with any vendor for the city. What is interesting to learn from this is that she did vote for Purdue to be given this contract. Now, they were given a 1 year contract. They wanted to evaluate and see if they were going to revamp their offices because at the time of being granted the contract, Purdue only had 5 employees in the city of Brownsville. Commissioner Linda Macias is related to an individual that works for Purdue. Now, in all fairness, we did reach out to our legal department and asked them, isn't this a conflict of interest? Based on the line of linguality, I fumbled the word, but for those of you that are aware of that, the line of, I'm not going to fumble it again, is whenever an individual can vote on a certain item because they're related to a certain degree. According to our legal department, uh, Commissioner Macias was able to vote, but the question arises: is this ethical? Shouldn't she have stated on the record and saying, you know what, I am going to vote, but I do have a family member that works for this firm? Don't you think that we, as constituents, as voters, consanguinity, thank you, but I fumbled it again. Again, the main reason why we're bringing this to light is because there has been manipulation done. We want to know by who and why. Because again, this is a multi-million dollar contract. Was it done by board member Eddie Garcia, who has a vested interest, who Purdue has been putting money in his treasury into his quest to become the Cameron County treasurer. Is it Commissioner Pedro Cardenas, who has been with these vendors? Or is it Linda Macias, who has a vested interest in probably making sure that her family member gets awarded this multi-million dollar contract? Did we hear Commissioner Macias go on the record to state, oh, you know what? Just for the record, I have a family member that lives there. We have always stated that everything is intertwined with one another. We saw this from Sylvia Atkinson's trial, how BISD was meddling with TSC, was meddling with the city, was meddling with the port. All these elected officials, they bounce around. They make sure that their compadres get certain contracts over there, and they'll take care of them over here. That's the way it works. If you've been watching and following politics in Hidalgo County, man, that's those are the high rollers. But it gives us an idea of how the game works. Now, again, we want to learn who gave the directive to make sure that a certain vendor was ranked higher than the one that was previously ranked number one. Now we're gonna go through more individuals, and you connect the dots, and you tell me if this is just a bit strange or not. Here we have significant others: a husband, a boyfriend, a fiance of a judge, and of a BISD board member, and a board member himself, rubbing elbows with Purdue representatives. Now, just because they rub elbows, I'm not trying to say that something malicious was done, but you tell me. Here we have a judge with a Purdue representative, with a BISD board member. Now, let us not forget, this BISD board member just so happened to land a job with a vendor that was seeking a multi-million dollar contract with BISD. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we pose the question once again. Do people run for politics because they want to provide a better quality of life for you and I? Or do they run for politics for the almighty dollar? We see how Purdue, and more power to them, have been working this for many years. We have seen how they are slowly taking over Cameron County. First, they started at BISD. They got that contract for 3 years. Now they quasi semi have a contract with the city for 1 year. And maybe and beyond. Maybe they might go county, maybe they might go port after this. But what I also want to bring to light is that this isn't the first time that Purdue has gotten a contract for municipal court work that has not been with or done through controversy. We hear that and we did our research, back in January 2023, a contract was tabled by a city that I'm a little bit familiar with as of late, the city of South Padre Island. The city of South Padre Island, they did table a contract so that the district attorney's office here in Cameron County could do an investigation into a possible misconduct in the selection process because a council member said that he had evidence of potential wrongdoing. And we do want to share that here, and I apologize um, uh, for the quality, but here we have the agenda for the city of South Padre Island back in May 2023, where they discuss the actions regarding the investigations and findings of the district attorney regarding this case. Now, while there wasn't no quote unquote irregularities, anything unlawful that was brought about by the district attorney's office, we have seen how the district attorney's office has looked the other way on many instances. But I beg to ask, and I hope this stays with you. Is there a coincidence that once again that there is a bid issued by a city and somehow the scores are coming under scrutiny as to be possibly being manipulated? That is the interesting thing that we have here. Now, one thing that I do want to state is you're probably thinking to yourself, well, Frankie, elections have consequences, is the famous phrase that we always hear. Board members, elected officials, once they get into office, they want to bring in their own people. They want to work with individuals that they have a good working relationship with. But again, as taxpayers from this community, don't we want our elected officials not to focus on the compadrismo, on bringing in their people? Don't we want the very best to either represent us in our government entities, individuals that have a good track record, who have not been smeared with any illegalities, with any investigations? Well, what if I told you that this certain firm has had its issues, so to speak, at the hearing? Here we have Iran Gutierrez at the podium, and to his right, our left, the gentleman in glasses, arms crossed, is Mr. Enrique Peña. Mr. Enrique Peña is an attorney that is working for Purdue, and it was interesting to learn that this individual has had his issues. Uh, he came out on the Brownsville Herald because his house did not appear on the tax roll for 3 to 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. And his excuse, the reasons why he wasn't paying taxes. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a tax attorney that somehow or another was not paying taxes. His house wasn't even on the tax roll. Now, he did give the Adam excuse that, oh, it's the woman that you gave me. My woman handles everything. I don't know anything. Typical male always do that. But don't you think it's funny that an individual that is collecting taxes, he himself is not collecting taxes? And that is an individual that is working for Purdue? Things that make you go, right? And what if I told you that this firm was already investigated by the FBI? Now, just because an individual or entity or firm is investigated by the FBI doesn't say that they're guilty, right? But as we hear, if there's smoke, there's fire. I bring to you a case out of Donna where school board members were accused of extorting a law firm. We followed this case and we learned that these board members were indicted on bribery and extortion charges. It was interesting to learn that these individuals that they requested $3,000 in cash. Uh, they were wined and dined. They were given tickets to the Spurs game. These individuals use their political seats for their own self enrichment. And guess who the firm that was neck deep with them? You guessed it. It was none other than Purdue. Now, why are we bringing this up to light? It is important for us to recognize that if a vendor that we currently have has a good track record, they are excellent at what they do in regards to collecting fees and fines. Why is there a need to go out? Now, again, it's always good to see what's out there, right? But whenever you have a firm that has questionable characters, former disgruntled employees, an attorney working for them that was previously not paying his taxes, that's it's like calling the kettle black, right? Also, from this Donna incident, we learned that they were whining and dining individuals, taking them to sports games. And wouldn't you know, we see that here in Cameron County. Here we have board members, Eddie Garcia, Denise Garza, with Purdue representatives up in Austin. We have our local judge on the far right. Now, again, is this wrong? No, but as they say, the appearance of impropriety. Would you want your elected officials to be having these relationships? Will these relationships affect them in their decision moving forward? Because again, they're being wined and dined. Here we have them at I want to say the Houston football game, Houston Cougars, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be the same UT game. Here we have a board member, a judge, two board members, and a judge with Purdue. Again, we see from Donna how they were wined and dined. Here we have them at the Astros game. What is interesting to learn, ladies and gentlemen, is that these individuals have been using the almighty dollar to influence in them getting contracts. Our focal point for this story is manipulation was done. It is apparent. We have a firm that was ranked number one in the selection process. RFPs were submitted on the understanding that the evaluations would be done on a 100-point scale based on XYZ. Lo and behold, once Linebaugher is ranked number one, somebody, who could that be? And we went over the players. Eddie Garcia. Could it be? Could it be Commissioner Cardenas? Could it be? Could it be Commissioner Macias, who is family with an employee of this firm that got a multi-million-dollar contract? Could it be? Is there cheating, manipulation being done by Purdue? It sure seems like it. And that, my friends, is the rest of the story. It is Monday, February the 5th, 9:04 a.m. My name is Frankie Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Hope to see you whenever I see you. Ciao!